if you disconnect the device.
You
All right, now we're running.
do you see? Let us know if you get voice.
You
in
see
there.
it? You see it popping
It's
there?
bouncing now.
Okay,
Yeah.
should be good.
I'm not gonna do the introduction because it's
Sorry
recorded.
about
It's gonna
that.
go through.
Yeah, whole introduction thing. But
Yeah, I'm not gonna do the whole introduction again. It's gonna go through on a recording, so you'll get that, guys. But again, my friend Justin decided to join us on a podcast. You should go check him out on Instagram, guys. The page is wild. Like, he gives bunch of nuggets, gold nuggets in there for you. But yeah, Justin, one more time, please. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Justin Smith, founder and CEO at Contractor Plus. We build software for general trade and service contractors. We serve about 50,000 contractors here in the United States, and we're getting ready to expand internationally, Canada, UK, Australia. Pretty much, we are the back office for the people that are out here building, your homes. And
Actually, I'm gonna put you in contact with a friend of mine. He's pretty big in Atlanta. He's a GC.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
He's very big. So
Awesome.
yeah, I'll put you in contact with. But anyway, tell us a little bit quickly about the humble beginnings. Where did it all start? Like, cause you don't just become an entrepreneur one day, right? Like, how did it all? When Justin was little, how did it all start?
We're gonna go back that far.
Yeah, where are you from? Like, how old are you? Like,
Yeah, I'm from South Central Ohio. So I grew up in a little town called Laurelville.
I've been there.
Have you really?
Yeah, with my
Old
previous
Man's
job.
Cave.
Yeah, I've been all over that place. Yeah.
Cool. So little town, like population under 300, middle of nowhere.
oh wow, yeah, it's a real little town. Then.
Real
Yeah.
little. We're known for like our hiking trails and our
Okay.
caves and stuff. Grew up there. Went to high school in the middle of a cornfield. Ended up dropping out of high school and.
This is what 17, 16. 15?
Yes, actually, 15. I dropped out, and then I got my diploma through an online program the day after my 16th birthday.
Nice. So GED type of thing.
No. Actual high school
Actual
diploma.
high school diploma.
Okay.
Yeah, biggest scam in the world. I guess that's probably where like I
Was
went
it
off the
one of
rails.
those things
I
where
found a way to get a high school diploma like easier than a GED.
So
Yeah.
was it one of those things where you're like, you were smart, you could do it, but they just couldn't keep your attention? Is that what was going on? Because a lot of times that's what usually happens. You're on both spectrums. You're either really not very
Dude,
smart, or
I fucking
very
hate
smart.
the education system. I can
So
cuss on it,
bad.
right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
that's
so
what like.
I just hate the education system. It's so fucking fake, dude. Like they put every kid in. It's like a conveyor belt. They're just like it's just an assembly line. They put every kid inside the same box. What was that show? Weeds, I think. The sitcom.
Yeah.
And little
Yeah, there was
boxes
one
on the
Weeds,
hillside. Little
Yeah.
boxes made of ticky tacky. So yeah, there we go. So and that theme song, like really, that's the way I feel about it. Like they put kids in these boxes and they're all the same size. They're all the same. Like they're given the same curriculum, and they're expected to come out as well-rounded individuals, but instead they're just brainwashed and forced into conformity. And a prison by any other name is public school system. Or
Yeah.
any school, really.
Yeah, no, definitely public school system sucks. Like,
It's so bad. We were just talking about that the other day. How they have like the programs for the kids that need more help and the kids that actually are excelling. Like you have a class of over 500-600 kids, and the program's like 20 and 20. It's like, come on, like that's not, you're not doing enough. And
Yeah,
then the programs are usually bullshit.
well, it's not only here. Like, the same thing happened to my little cousin in Lithuania. She's very advanced when it comes to all the sciences, like all the STEM stuff, but her linguistics is up to par with whatever class she's in, and they would not let her hop grades because the linguistics is not there. It's like, well, clearly this kid is very advanced with STEM. Why would you want to retard the growth just because
Are we talking about the same little kid that knows like 3-4 languages?
yeah yeah
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
the kid at 6 years old,
Can't skip a grade though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at 6 years old, she brought her iPad to me. She's like, "Hey, can you download this app?" I was like, "What kind of app is it?" It's like, "Oh, I can create games with my iPad on this." And that's when I think it was Meta or one of them was putting out this software where you can create your own games. At 6 years old, she was already trying to put games together on her own because the games that she was playing wasn't interesting. But anyway, what I'm trying to say,
Building her own games.
yeah, building her own games,
So that she could play something that was interesting to her. That's insane at
Yeah.
6 years old.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like the education
Can't
system
skip a
is-
grade though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Dude, send her to game design school. Like, what's the rest of it? By the 6th grade, you have everything that like 99% of Americans use anyway.
Yeah, and the majority of the time, like, a lot of people think, oh, you go to school and in post-secondary school where you get to your education through university, whatever, it's going to make you better at your job. No, it's not. They teach you a bunch of shit you're never going to use. You get to the job site, that's when they teach you what you need,
And I feel like school makes a lot of like young adults care about certain bullshit things in their life more than they should, because school was so like over their head, and so like it instills a lot of fucking stress into kids, and it makes them care about these bullshit test scores. And then when you move on to real life, you start caring about a lot of things that don't really matter.
It does. So I think the one quality that comes from it is discipline.
Structure, discipline,
and patience. Like if you can, like, to get a PhD in something, like you're gonna spend 7 to 9 years. So that's a long fucking time, dude.
I've read some work of PhDs. I was a microbiology major. I graduated my master's with that. I read some work where like, this person has a PhD. Like, this makes no sense. And they just put the paper.
How many doctors do you know? Like, personally know?
Like,
do
doctors,
you know any, like really well friends? Like,
yeah.
How many of them that you would just guess they had a PhD if you didn't know that about them?
No. So, I'm fortunate enough. The doctors that I know, they're someone. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Whole scheme of things, they'll go and present and things like that.
Oh,
in
so
big
they're doing
conferences.
good.
Yeah, they're actual good doctors. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know some dude. I know very well. I was in prison with him, an open heart surgeon, and God, I hope I never have to have open heart surgery. If it's someone like him working on me, like,
well, tell us a little bit more.
That dude was fucking crazy, like absolutely batshit crazy.
How did you go from 16 getting a diploma to prison? How did that whole transition?
Dude, I got a hustler spirit. I have from day one. I think I got it from my mom. Like, she just knows how to hustle. She used to sell drugs too. I'm sorry, Mom. I put you on blast. So, she smoked cigarettes since she was 9 years old. Like, my mom's the dude. I've said that many times, but even still to this day, she's had 3 back surgeries, and she's still working. She's building my sister's house, $500,000 house right now, building it herself.
Wow. Okay.
So my mom's a badass. But so, like when I was a kid, it started selling like Nesquik, hustling baggies of Nesquik when they took chocolate milk out of school. Dude, kids love chocolate milk.
Yeah,
I love money. So and then it went. I don't remember the name of it. I don't. How old are you?
23.
So probably just didn't exist when you were a kid, but maybe. So probably you.
Oh, I
he didn't grow up in here. He
grew up in 2001.
Okay, got it. Well, I don't know. So they made these catalogs for kids that basically you could go around your neighborhood and knock on people's doors.
Yeah, they did that when I was in high school. Yeah.
But they don't give you money; they give you points. So like you sell shit out of the catalog, you convince them to buy the stuff. Mm-hmm. And then when they buy it, they give you points.
And you could redeem that for certain things.
For like an Xbox or like an Atari. Let's face it, I'm getting pretty old now. Yeah. So or a Nintendo, right? So, so I love that shit. I knocked on every single door multiple times, and I didn't like taking no for an answer. People would tell me no, and I would find a way to get a yes. And what I realized is when you're talking to someone face to face, it's hard to tell someone no.
Yeah.
It's hard for people to tell you no. So I learned, like, hey, if I'm adding value, all I need to find out is what about this person's lifestyle do they need out of this catalog. And I can convince them to buy. I can convince them that I have something for their needs. And that's really all sales is listening, figuring out what the people need and care about, and then figuring out how you can introduce it to them.
When I worked in sales, we always referred to the more you can get the client, customer, the prospect, whatever you want to call them, to talk, the more ammo they give you.
Yeah,
Simple
you don't sell people as a salesman. You let people sell themselves. You set them up to sell themselves.
The more you can get them to talk about about the certain situation, or even completely other things, like talk about their life and just establish rapport as well at doing that.
Dude, get them to say yes about other things in conversation. If you can get them to say the word yes, the more you can get them to say the word yes, even if it's not about, they're not saying yes that they're going to buy it yet, but the more like they're saying yes, that exactly.
There's such a psychological warfare behind sales.
It's straight up manipulation.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
I don't enjoy it because of that. I'm good at putting that mask on, but I don't like it.
Here's what I'll say about that. I've been on both sides of this. I've sold something that I really believed in.
I've done,
that I've seen how it's changed people's lives. I feel good about that. Now, I understand that only a percentage of the people that buy it are actually going to use it the way it was intended to be using. Most people are just fucking lazy, dude. Like, they'll, even if they spend $5,000, I wasn't selling peanuts. You know, even if they spend $5,000, more than half the people still don't even use it.
Right.
Which is
I know exactly what you're
mind-blowing
talking
to me.
about. I worked at the UFC gym for during the pre-sale, so I know exactly what you
You're
mean.
selling gym memberships.
Yeah, and that's something
Alex
most people
Hormozy
need.
over here.
Yeah,
Hormozy Jr.
That's something that most people need, right?
We all need it.
100% of the
We
people
all
need
need
that.
it.
Only
Yeah,
20 do
that's
it.
one of the things
Yeah.
we used to say is only 20% of the
crazy.
people work out, but 100% of the people understand that everyone should exercise.
Yeah, we all know we
Yeah.
should.
Yeah, 100%.
Aw, our kid keeps us up all night.
I work
there's
too
a-
much. Yeah, so
I
too
work
many
all the
excuses.
time.
I've
I
heard
can't
them all.
find- Dude,
I've
exactly.
heard them all, every single one.
So how did it come about? How did you get
Yeah.
into the Contractor Plus? Like how did
Oh man, so
you're
I was
slinging those 9
actually
bags of Nesquik?
so I started building computers when I was like 11. I was when I was a kid, I was kind of like antisocial. I didn't really do well with other kids my age. I got along really well with adults, but I didn't have good social skills. So I always felt really awkward, and I didn't really know how to like communicate. I was like socially
Not calibrated.
I can't say what I was gonna say.
Was it almost like
Yeah.
So-
The R
so-
word.
You probably
Yeah,
can.
the R word.
So
was it almost like you were around the adults, but you weren't allowed to speak around them, or they didn't really value your opinion because you were a kid, in a way?
I'm sure that's happened too, but no, I think
Because I found myself in a very similar situation growing up. Like, I would do very good around adults, but when I was around kids, I wouldn't really, like, have that connection.
yeah, I felt
Yeah.
like that. Exactly. Yes. That's exactly what I felt like. So it's just weird. So what I did was I kind of like created my own life. Like I didn't, when everyone else was doing their thing, like I didn't pay it any mind, and I just did whatever I wanted to do. And I have a father who's like extremely conservative, like anti-computer and technology. Still to
The
this day.
Amish or just the way.
So gets his horses shoed by the Amish. I mean, might as well be, buys their pies from the Amish. So just grew up like really conservative Christian, and my dad's just kind of like the far end of the conservative spectrum as it gets. So he kind of like, he always wanted to restrict my time on the computer and stuff. But my mother was like, listen, computers are the future. Let that kid do his thing, man. So she always advocated for me and pushed for me. Well, so I built my first website. I registered it in 1997. I think I had it live early 98. I still have the domain today. It's like my primary email still to this day. So it's kind of crazy. And I started building websites, and
How old were you at that time when you built your first?
like 12.
Damn.
Yeah. So, and then 13, I built like a really good website in Macromedia Flash. A lot of people don't know what Macromedia Flash is today, but Macromedia got acquired by Adobe. Adobe kind of phased Flash out.
Yeah, the Flash
But-
was the animation side of things,
Exactly. So you could do videos. It's really for animation. But what was really cool about it is you could embed the applet inside of your browser. So inside of an HTML website. Back in like the Web 1 days when websites were very ugly and flat, and we didn't have like the depth in our Cascade style sheets, and like we really couldn't, there weren't all these frameworks like Tailwinds, and like we certainly didn't have React. So like we couldn't do crazy stuff with, and everything that's came from React, like with Next.js and 3.js and like all these cool modern JavaScript frameworks are like making things like you can do anything now right inside the browser. And you couldn't do that back then. But with Macromedia Flash, inside of Flash, they had what was known as ActionScript. And ActionScript is basically JavaScript. It's all written the same way. All looks like JavaScript functions. So I started learning JavaScript, ActionScript, so that I could code things inside of a Flash embed that made websites interactive in a way that like I could add depth to a website in 1999 and 2000 that looks like what people are doing today. The only downside of Macromedia Flash, and I think the reason it's no longer really relevant, is because you had to download the plugin, in order to view it. So like if you didn't have it installed, it'll say you have to install a flash player. Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not only that, and then what they did, they figured that Flash has a lot of holes in it, so they were able to push viruses through that too. So that was another big thing.
For sure.
I remember playing
That
times
makes
as a
sense.
kid wanting to play my computer games in school, and that little shit would come up.
Flash.
Well, you
Yeah.
can use it to inject a virus.
Yeah.
With ActionScript, it's JavaScript. You can
Yeah.
run it inside the Flash applet. If they
no
install
one
it, you can
even
inject
knew,
a
yeah.
virus. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's-
that was the websites, and then what happened?
Man, like I think I was a good kid. I want to think I was a good kid. I think we all want to think we're good people, right? But I also did some dumb shit when I was a kid too. Like I remember I played paintball at a place called Agape Farms Paintball, and I took it. It was called Sub 7, a Trojan horse, and which is kind of like a virus, but you can control it.
Yeah.
And I embedded it in a file, in an executable file, and I masked the file as a zip archive. So he thought he was getting a zip file, and sent him the zip file. He went to open it. It pops up an error saying like this file is corrupted, cannot run, whatever. So, and that was the error message. But what was actually happening was it was injecting the Trojan horse in your system files, in your DLL files. So, and set to run in the background. So now I have full control over his computer, over his network. I remember I took a picture of his wife. She was sitting in front of the computer topless. And I took a screenshot of the webcam, and then I printed it out on his printer.
Oh my
So-
God.
Yeah, that's some real like horror movie shit going down in your office. I bet that's
Isn't that
That's
That's some
crazy?
Black
Crazy.
Mirror level stuff right there.
yeah.
Pretty wild, man. Like, that we
And
can
then how
even
did
do
they
this stuff.
figure that shit out? What happened?
So, well, I was a kid. I bragged about it.
Oh, okay.
So we always telling ourselves, right?
Yeah. that
Usually when
happens.
you get caught, it's because you said something to the wrong person.
Yeah.
Usually.
You tell your buddy,
Should've just kept your mouth shut.
tell somebody
Yeah,
else.
it didn't take very long before they figured out who was doing it. So, you know, but for the most part, I was a pretty good kid. Like, I didn't do that shit all the time. But I mean, all kids like to screw around
Yeah,
and
yeah.
have fun, right? So, you know, one thing led to another, and I decided, a website that I built, and I've told this story on another podcast, but I built a website I love the sport of paintball. And I played 3 days a week, played professionally for 10 years. Just love it. It was like my entire life. And
I got shot in the hand once, and I was like, "Fuck this."
I
Yeah,
still
it's
have
crazy.
my paintball gun. It's a 90 Tipman 98
Tip
with
98,
an
yeah.
E-grip.
That's wild, crazy.
Yeah.
So I started playing in Columbus, Ohio. It's really cold in the winters, so we build indoor fields so we can play year round. And I wanted to get on a sponsored team that had like free paint and markers or guns, whatever. So that I didn't have to pay. If
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
playing
it's
3 days
expensive,
a week and you're
That
shooting
shit
2
is expensive.
cases a day, it's $100 a case.
Yeah, it's expensive.
That's $600 a week.
Yeah.
So it's impossible for a 15, 16-year-old to do that. So I like 15 or 16, I built the website for the paintball field and the team, the factory team at the field. And there was another company in Pittsburgh that third largest extreme sporting goods distributor, whatever, for the sport of paintball, owned by a guy named Jeff Lizick. Action Fanatics was their name, and they supplied all the pro shops in the paintball fields. So like where you go to the paintball field, they sell masks and guns and tanks and jerseys and whatever. They supply all that stuff. So he took notice. He noticed the new website that I had built for the field, and he called the owner of the field and said, "Who built your website?" And he said, "This kid that plays here named Justin. You want me to introduce you?" He said, "Yeah." I was stocking shelves at Office Max night shift, and my phone rang middle of the night, and it was Jeff. And Jeff was like, "Dude, how soon can you get to Pittsburgh?" I said, "I can be there tomorrow." So got in my car and drove 3.5 hours to Pittsburgh. And then that turned into a job where I I had people working under me, and I was building their new e-commerce platform and integrating with their point of sale, their retail brick and mortar point of sale systems, and syndicating inventory. Like I was doing shit that, most people probably didn't know how to do at the time. So,
it's funny. I was imagining that they were gonna like hire you to build their website. They went directly and hired you for them in house.
Oh yeah, e-commerce director, not a director. I guess you could call it that, but a pretty growing business, doing really well. His business. So a guy named Gino Posterivo from Sewell, New Jersey, owns the largest business in the paint. He owns the sport of paintball. It's just, they own it, dude. They bought everything. They own Empire, Halo, like Tipman,
yeah.
Dude, they bought all the brands. Shocker. They bought them all. So, and any brand that's for sale, they're like the private equity. They acquire everything in the sport of paintball. This guy, Gino, they were also the back-end supplier for Jeff's business. So, they are the source. Everything comes, the closer you get to the source is the better your pricing is going to be. The more margin you can make for yourself, it's the better the business is usually. So, thank you. So it wasn't long after we shipped a new website for Action Fanatics, and Jeff got a call from Gino saying, "Hey man, who built your new website?" And so, this kind of goes to show that if you do really good work, it doesn't matter what you do. Like a contractor, for example, if you do really good work, someone's going to take notice. Everyone's going to take notice of that work, and your work is going to become your best marketing. It's marketing you don't even have to pay for. All you got to do is do good work.
Yeah, word of mouth is
the best marketing you can get. It's the only marketing you need if you do it right. A lot of people don't understand that, man. But yeah. So then Gino wanted to hire Jeff and me. To hell with everyone else. So I'm going back to Pittsburgh and riding across the state of Pennsylvania with Jeff and his Jeep Grand Cherokee. I remember we were bumping exhibits. Man versus Machine, I think it was, and
it's funny he got signed recently by Conor McGregor's record label.
For real?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
He just got signed. He did like a whole project that he just released. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. That's wild.
So from there, what took you on to your infamous bath salt story?
Man. So I like how Darren used the pretty cool title there, clickbaity title. You know what? I was playing poker, and a guy that. A good friend of mine owns some smoke shops in the Central Florida area. He slid a little packet to me and they were selling it in their smoke shops. He told me like he had off-duty police officers, firefighters, like like first responders buying this shit because it doesn't show up on a piss test. And everybody likes to get high. Well, most people like to get high in some way, whether you're drinking or vaping or whatever. Like, that's all altering your state of mind, right?
And that was like K2 back then, right?
Yeah, they called it K2. That's right. Deuces. So, that's what we called it in prison. So, they were selling this stuff kind of like under the counter. You couldn't go in and ask for, like, you had to be careful, like, how you worded it so that it was legal, but it was essentially a couple different loose herbs, marshmallow and damiana. They take it, they just mix it, and then they mix the. At the time, it was JWH18. You mix it in a solvent that evaporates very quickly, like isopropyl or whatever, and you spray it on the loose plant matter. You mix it up, spray it again, let it dry, bag it up, and sell it. And just to put things into perspective here, we could take a kilo of the stuff that we get for. They would sell wholesale for like $1,800 to $2,000. I was buying enough of it. I was buying 100 at a time, so I'd get them for $1,200 a piece. So take a kilo of this and turn it into 10,000 grams of finished product. So 10,000 grams of actual, exactly. So you're taking a kilo of, you basically turned it into 1 gram, it turns into 10 grams of product, smokable product. So the margin was, we take $1,200 and they're selling it for $20 a gram, dude.
Yeah.
So you're turning $1,200 into,
24,000?
10,000 times 20, 200,000,
200,000.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, $200,000.
Because that's right. Because it's
Damn.
200.
Yeah.
200%.
That's
200
now that's
200
retail,
times
so
more, yeah.
like there's exchanges hands a couple
Right.
times,
That
but
always happens.
but still $1,200 to $200,000. That math ain't mathing, bro.
Yeah.
Like you just realize these margins, you're not gonna find those margins in any other business. Not even software. Software, our target's like 70% or better, which is good. That's a good business.
Yeah.
But a lot of traditional like
Yeah,
transport and-
t-shirts, socks, and whatever. You're selling.
dude, you're like fighting for 25%, 20%. You know, some of the biggest businesses in the
200.
world, like airlines and the railroads, and they operate on like very slim margins,
Yeah.
like under 5%. So, and they build huge, massive businesses with such slim margins. But so you know, the drug game is extremely lucrative. For me, it wasn't about the drugs. It was about the money. It's always been about the money. And the way I looked at it then was, well, so let me back up. So I send this stuff off. My job at that point in time was to figure out what my friend is selling. He knows that people are using it as an alternative to marijuana. He doesn't know what it is, though. At the time, nobody really knew what the hell it was. So there's a company in Jacksonville called Jacksonville Forensics. And so they analyze, they can analyze like chemicals. It's like a private lab that can analyze drugs and figure out what the compounds are.
PCR machine, they run it through that.
Yeah, exactly. So it came back and they figured out what it was, and it was a cannabinoid, a synthetic cannabinoid. So then I just, I did a deep search and started looking for where I could buy this stuff. All roads went back to China, and I contacted a few suppliers. In the beginning, I wasn't super careful, but once I placed an order, I started encrypting all of my communication with PGP. Pretty good privacy. You send them your public key. They send you their public key, and the only way they can read the communication is if you both have each other's keys in your keychains. So I thought it was pretty good, but dude, PGP's no match for the CIA. The NSA. Like if the feds want you,
Yeah.
they're gonna get you.
They know everything.
They know everything, for sure. The Department of Defense funded half of that shit. So there's if they funded it, they have a back door.
Yeah,
they
yeah,
can
they
see
can
it,
enter, yeah.
for sure. So figured out what it was, and then the next logical step was ordering it and seeing what it was all about. The first order I placed was half a kilo. Then I went to a key, and then I went to 5, and then I went to 10, and then I went to 20. I just kept reinvesting very quickly. And then at the time, it was pretty much like we never had any boxes getting hit in customs. Like it was smooth sailing for a while. And part of me feels like they know you're doing it, but they just let you get big. They want you to get big before
Because they make story, probably.
I mean, 1 kilo of some synthetic cannabinoid that's not even scheduled, you're not going to get any time for that. I get probation, maybe. I mean, it's not scheduled. So, and so that's the thing. I actually consulted with a local lawyer in Orlando, not a federal lawyer. And I was like, is this safe? Can I do this? Like, it's not illegal, right? And he said, it's not illegal. He failed to inform me of the Federal Analog Act. So the feds have 2 different things. They have the Controlled Substances Act, and they have the Federal Analog Act. The Controlled Substances Act states that if you possess this substance and it's on this list, you're fucking going to prison. Like, pretty much.
Yeah.
But the Federal Analog Act states that if you possess a substance that produces a similar or like mind-altering effect to its nearest related substance that is scheduled, they can just charge you with that instead, even though that's not what you had.
So it's basically if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, must be duck, so we're just going to charge you with it.
So wouldn't Delta 8 fall into the same thing? Because Delta 9 is still illegal?
Dude, it all comes from the same plant.
Yeah.
They're just segmenting the law has always been so. I think like the short answer to that is yes. Technically, but
do you think it was because like there was not enough lobby for it? Because there clearly has to be some sort of a lobby to let something fly and something not.
yes. yes. Back to Delta 8, no. And the reason is similar or like mind-altering effect. Delta 8 doesn't produce any mind-altering effects. Last time I tried, I mean...
I don't know. From what I heard, like from what they classify, like you go look it up online and do the research, they say that it's just like a similar effect as Delta 9. That's at least what a lot of people say.
Yeah, but I don't think that's true though.
Okay.
I mean, I think that might be what they say.
Yeah.
But I've used Delta 8 and I've used Delta 9, and I can say that Delta 8,
From what I heard, they say it's like a less strong version.
It's
But
nothing.
nothing.
It's like,
Just
like
taking
zero.
CBD?
Yeah, it's like taking CBD.
Okay.
I don't think Delta 8 does anything really.
Yeah.
Maybe in a very high
They
concentration.
sell a shit ton of it around here in all the stores. Like you can buy that shit at a gas station here, anywhere.
Yeah,
Delta 8.
yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and you've seen like I'm assuming kind of the same thing started to happen with the K2 in the sense that like what happened with fentanyl coming from China, right? Like they make it slightly different, and then now it's legal for a little while.
So the same people that I ordered the JWH 18, JWH 19, 22, 28, 32, AM 1220. So the same people I ordered all those chemicals from are the same people that's producing fentanyl.
Yeah.
Or were at the time. So Kanzotech Private Limited was who the company was. They actually made 2 arrests. I don't know, 5 years into my sentence. The person I did business with there she went by the name of Alicia Choice, something like that. And then her husband's name was Kevin. I guess they were married. They were running the lab over there, like after hours moonlighting, producing this stuff. The thing is, like in China, the schedule is very black and white. So it's not like here where there's a lot of gray area where they could get you if they want you or whatever. In China, it's like it's either scheduled or it's not. And they don't have an emergency schedule either. Like here, if they know that there's something on the street that probably shouldn't be, they can rush that shit through and get it scheduled right away. Mm-hmm. But in China, the new schedule gets introduced on January 1st every year.
So they have until the end of the year to
liquidate.
Out. Yeah.
Yeah. What happened was, the feds actually caught. Well, I'm skipping a lot there. So, long story short, selling the one chemical led to me importing other chemicals that did different things. Some mimic ketamine, some mimic dimethyltryptamine, some mimic cocaine, some mimic Molly, and my personal favorite. So, and that's what really, like, the feds really frown on that shit, dude. Like the weed, they'll send you the FDA will send you letters. They'll send you cease and desist. They'll warn you, and they'll make it really threatening. Like, it'll sound bad, but stop selling this. People are ingesting this. We don't want people using this. Get rid of it. Stop selling it. This is your last warning.
So to rewind maybe a little bit more, what was your method of distribution once you got the stuff? If you can go into that.
Yeah, I can go into that. So I sold it initially sold it through 3 or 4 head shops in Florida, and made all the shit myself.
Okay.
Made my own brand. I called it Kush. I made the first menthol variety called Kush Ice. So we put them in little round vials. Looked cool. I was going to make an energy drink. We never did it, but I was going to try to make an energy drink with the chemicals in it. So we had a small batch made, like a pallet. What's that?
And at that time, energy drinks were very popular.
Yeah, they're still popular.
Yeah.
It's crazy, like, looking back. So that led me to wanting, I was only getting $1 a gram, a finished product. So I was turning $1,200 into $10,000. And they're selling it for sometimes $24 a gram. So he's making $250,000 off it. You know what I mean? So I see they're making all the money, and I'm like, I need to charge more for one, and I need to find more people that want to buy.
Yeah.
The only way for me to grow is to find more buyers. So I recruited a couple people. We started selling through different channels, started selling it through a tobacco distributor. So just started selling. I mean, it just crazy. It started selling. Honestly, we were selling it faster than what we could get it. That led to me just getting massive amounts of chemicals that the federal government really frowned upon. And at the time, they weren't scheduled, they weren't illegal, but people were using it as you know, as a mind altering substance, and I knew that. Now, like the question of like morality kicks in. In prison, I did this drug program. They call it RDAP, Residential Drug Abuse Treatment Program, and it's like in prison, like the prisoners, we all do it because it takes a year off your sentence. So like if you complete it, it takes a year off. It's hard to complete though. It's not easy. You have to live in a dorm in a community. You have to wear a lanyard. You have to make your bed like military grade every day. Lights out at 9 o'clock. You can't talk. If you even whisper, someone's gonna
write you out or whatever.
It's like, yeah, exactly. Like they'll have to call you out in front of the whole community. They call it pull you up. You're pulling them up.
Mm-hmm.
You're not hurting them. You're not telling on them. You're not snitching.
You're helping them.
You're helping them.
Yeah,
You're bringing them back to like a level playing. Like you're bringing them back to where they need to be. And I actually like drank the Kool-Aid in that program. I told myself, like, I saw 60% of the people that started that program didn't complete it. Either they got kicked out or rolled back or whatever. So if I'm going to start it, there's no sense in half-assing it.
Yeah.
Let's just jump in head first. I facilitated the facilitation meeting. I was very involved. And I think I got a lot of good out of that program too, though. Like a lot of people see it as something bad. I don't think it's necessarily a drug abuse. Like I wasn't a drug addict, so I've used and experimented with different drugs throughout my life, and I even like some drugs. Like I don't think they're bad. It's not that I like care. Like I'm not gonna go buy an 8-ball. I haven't done coke in 20 years, but you know, I don't necessarily think it's much worse than a cup of coffee, except that people get addicted to it, and there's a lot of bad shit that happens around it. It's actually not a crazy stimulant.
Yeah, it's you're in that environment. The environment that
Exactly.
takes you, the buying, the selling, the people around you. Yeah.
It's not the drug itself. Actually, it's the people around. It's the environment for sure. You know, when you sell coke is very territorial. So if you're selling drugs locally, especially coke or like hard drugs, like you're probably gonna get robbed. You might end up getting shot at. Like you're gonna deal with some bullshit. Like there's gonna be other people that say, "Hey, you can't sell here. This is my territory."
You're dealing with money outside the law. That's when shit gets crazy.
Exactly. They have their own set of laws.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about respect. You know, like you can't just come into my territory and start selling to my customers and not have repercussions. So I understand both sides of it, but that's where the bad stuff surrounding drugs, like the violence and the killing and the gang shit, is what gives all that a bad rep. But here's the deal. None of that shit would exist if selling drugs wasn't profitable. If it wasn't profitable to sell drugs, like if you could go to CVS and buy an 8-ball legally, why would no one's going to sell it illegally? So it's not going to be some cutthroat territorial, and no one's going to sell it anymore because and coke's so expensive. Like it comes out of South America, you know, they get it in through Mexico, bring it across the border. Really, it's so expensive. The price keeps going up at every node because it's in the transport and the risk involved in transporting.
And with weed, we've seen this, and people have the theory of, oh, even when it becomes recreationally legal, I still, like, some people would say, like, oh, I still prefer, like, my, you know, street weed and this and that. Studies have shown in the places that have gone legal, it's the complete opposite. People would actually rather pay $10, $20 more on average for their weed to not have the stress of, like, going and doing it illegally and meeting with some sketchy dude in the parking lot and doing all that. No, they'd rather just feel free and safe about doing it and pay more money on average.
Also quality control, though. So, like, marijuana that's sold through dispensaries goes through pretty rigorous testing.
Yeah.
So like if like mold testing, like if you want to make sure there's like not mites and mold and stuff in it that could hurt you, it might be worth that extra $20 or whatever. Might be worth the peace of mind.
It was pretty shitty though when it first started. The labs were corrupt as shit. They were
sure
super
they still
bad.
are.
Yeah, they still are, I'm sure. But like I know when it first became recreationally legal, like going around Colorado, and it started to spread to the other states. Like I saw a lot of articles talking about how a lot of these labs were getting paid off by the manufacturers to get the correct ratings for percentages and passing.
So it's all
batches.
sham. It's not even accurate.
Yeah, because I believe it's still like when you go into like we're in Vegas and you see all this shit and you're like, this is bullshit. There's no way it's this high percentage and all this stuff for this price or whatever it may be.
Well, you gotta look at it. They just, this is unrelated, but they just canceled a bunch of tuna from Costco because they might have had botulinum in it. So if that shit happens to canned tuna, like why wouldn't it happen to weed, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's
It
not that they
can.
tried
It
to
can
do it.
for
It just happens.
It
Shit
happens.
happens.
Yeah, shit
Yeah, but
happens.
on the street, it could be even worse. Like
Yeah.
on the street, your weed could be dipped in formaldehyde.
You
I
wouldn't
mean,
even
there
know.
was
There
was weed going for. I remember in high school, I remember hearing about weed going around with fentanyl. People were lacing it with
that
fentanyl.
could kill you.
Yeah,
That will kill you.
yeah,
You smoke fentanyl, you're gonna die, dude.
yeah,
So I mean, I think that extra $20 is probably worth it.
yeah.
though. I got my
think it
medical
definitely
card, and you know what's funny? Like I barely even smoke, but I did it for the peace of mind before Ohio passed it recreationally. They just passed it last year, which was a good move. That was a smart move, for sure, for many reasons. I personally am a proponent. If you look at, there's actually an interesting study. There's a study that was done in Portugal, started in 1991, and they decriminalized simple possession for all substances. Not legalized, decriminalized, which means the difference is like legalized is like we'll sell it through controlled
when it comes
mediums and we'll
recreational.
tax it. Decriminalized is like the government's not going to even think about it. Like,
Yeah. You're
and
just gonna toss it in the garbage can and call it a day.
or not even.
Yeah.
And simple possession, like you can just have it. Like it's whatever. It's not like you're carrying around a
The only
bag.
time they
of
get
it.
like
I think
pissy
that's how
about
it
it is
is.
if you were to be selling it.
That's how it is
You
in
have a
Colombia.
truckload.
I think that's how it is in Colombia when it comes to weed. In Colombia, if you sell it, you're in trouble. But if you have it on you and you're not selling it, you're not caught selling it, you're fine to keep it. It is what it is. But I think
makes sense.
that's the
now
rules over
here,
there.
I think in Florida, they've just if you have a under a certain amount, they just boiled it down to a ticket now. Like they don't even arrest you or anything like that. It has to be a certain amount though.
I've heard a lot of bad shit about Florida cops. I lived in Florida for 10 years. I've gotten away with a lot of shit. I'll say, like, we got pulled over. We were coming from Orlando. Me and a couple no-name friends were coming to a party at USF for the weekend. These girls were throwing a party at their house, and we were going to crash. And we were driving in his Jag from Orlando, and we had our beers were open. We were drinking, so open container. That would have been a DUI for the driver for sure.
100%.
Right away, yeah.
We were smoking weed, so we know that the car just reeked of marijuana. When we got pulled over, and so I still had like, I don't know, a third of my 40 was still full, and he was like, "Dude, just cram it under the seats." So I'm like, we're cramming in the back seat, we're cramming our beer cans under the seat, like just trying to like hide it. And this Jag, the seat's set so low, you're not cramming shit under them
Yeah.
seats. So and the car, when he rolls the window down, smoke's just poof. So the cop pulls us over, and he's like, "Step the fuck out of the car." And we got out. I was like, "Man, we're going to jail." And sure enough, the cop took the beer cans and threw them out in the field. And he was like, "I could take you guys to jail for this." He said, "I could like ruin your life for this, but I'm just going to act like this didn't happen." He said, "Don't be doing this dumb shit because the next guy's not going to be so forgiving."
Right.
So, and that stuck with me too. I'll say that really stuck with me. Drinking and driving stupid. Don't do that. A lot of people get killed because someone just decided to chug a whole bottle
Yeah.
and then go get behind a wheel.
Yep.
Now, I will say though, like they count like smoking marijuana and driving a car as a DUI, and they shouldn't. I think that's stupid, but I don't know.
I almost semi agree with you because I understand the viewpoint you're coming from, but you have to also remember like if someone smokes weed for the first time,
Yeah.
The first time, yeah.
they this first second,
But how
even
do
the
you know?
the first 15 probably they should
They're not
definitely
even
not be
moving, dude.
getting-
They're not driving a car because
Yeah.
they're not even getting out of their seat.
So it's
just gonna
kind
be-
of one of those things you can't have like a gray area with that. It's gonna have to be you.
Yeah.
You are or you're not.
I guess. I know I'm like so cautious. Like if I smoked, I would probably have to remind myself to drive a little faster.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But not everyone's like that.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, for sure.
So they finally got caught up to you.
Yeah,
and
man.
gotcha.
So I started getting warnings from the FDA, and we would like change the molecule, change the color, find creative ways. Like I designed a product called the Rock Candy Factory, rock candy making fun for the whole family in this lime green box, and I had like 10,000 boxes printed in China and shipped to the place where the lab where they were producing this. I told them I want you to package it a certain way and the confectionery sugar and seal them. I mean, they looked legit, dude, and they would ship a whole pallet at a time. So I thought I was circumventing the law. Like all that shit I was doing, obviously I'm operating in gray area and I'm trying to like get shit through customs undetected.
Yeah, which
is already like, you know, that someone, if they're seizing 1 out of 10 packages, which then slowly started turning into 1 out of 5, eventually like they're gonna catch up to you. Mm-hmm. What we would do is I would find in Florida there's a lot of Hispanic landlords, and for whatever reason they prefer to not have like a formal lease agreement.
Oh yeah, hell no.
So I would just pay cash, and some of these guys own like 50 doors, like they own a lot of properties. I'd pay cash, and I'd pay 6 months up front. I know I'm not going to need it past 6 months. It'll be burned in the next month or two. Yeah. So get the address, make sure there's nothing tied to you with that at all. And eventually I got a guy that kind of handled all that for me. Once we had a large shipment, you know, a few keys that would come up missing, or they would take it at customs going to a certain address, we'd burn the address, we'd forget about it, never use it again. But yeah, so caught up to us how we really got caught. So China was scheduling a substance that was making us a lot of money. BK, MDMA, methadone, which is a synthetic molly. The supplier told me, hey, place your last orders because we don't know what's going to happen after this. Like the Chinese government's taking a hard stance on it, and we might not be able to produce it. So I said, well, how much do you have in inventory right now? And she responded and said, we have like 384 kilos. And I said, I'll take it all. So that's a lot, dude. Like that'd fill this room.
Yeah.
You know, that's like, that's a lot. So like customs, even if you're sending that to 25 addresses, which I think we were sending to maybe 20. Yeah, I had like 15 that I controlled, and then I got a few others, like asked friends and stuff. Even if you're spreading it, that like all these packages are going to look the same, and they're going to, you know, addresses spread out over Central Florida. They're all going through the same distro, at USPS. So they saw it all, and they seized most of it. Some of it slipped through the cracks. Like we still got some. I was able to offload it before the feds kicked in my door. But the feds conducted simultaneous raids on my office, the recording studio, my home. It was like movie shit, and like I'm nobody. I was hardly like compared to like what's actually happening out there. I'm like nothing, but like they put on a big display. Yeah, for sure.
Up until that time, what was like the most you had purchased like at once?
Up until that order, 30 keys.
Okay, so it was a big jump.
And I was splitting it with one other. I would split that order. Maybe someone would pitch in for 10 up front or something. So maybe 25 myself. Yeah, big jump. Yeah, for sure.
What was your highest month? Like, what were you talking about? 7 figures, 6 figures, net?
Did 7 figures in one day.
Shit.
Yeah.
How?
I walked in. So I walked in. I still remember like my best day. I've done that multiple times, but my best day was $2.4 million. Shit. And
how do you fucking clean all that?
We didn't. I fronted and faced it. We ironed it, fronted it and faced it, and put it in bank wraps and put it in a safe that I had mounted in the wall. So didn't worry about cleaning it. Just used it. Like, dude, you go to Vegas and with 3 of your homies and you each have just under 10 grand with you, you're gonna have a good time. Yeah, you can't not have a good time. Shit. But we had a great time. Like, the thing is, like, looking back, like I said, I consider myself a good person when I was growing up, and I have a hard time seeing myself as a bad person, even when I was doing this stuff. because I care about people. I want to help people. Now in RDAP, we learn that when you do the wrong thing for the right reasons, that's called sentimentality. It's not healthy. It's not good. It's like, okay, well, I sell drugs, but I buy all the kids in the neighborhoods new kicks. You know what I mean? Like, and I take care of all the elderly women that can't afford to pay their bills. I pay their bills for them. Yeah, that's really nice of you, but
you're getting the dads and worker and all them high at the same time, you know?
Yeah, you're also you're the reason they're so fucked up.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know, because I'm a libertarian. I take it a step further. I take it to the extreme. I'm an anarchist. I believe in capitalism. I believe in free markets. I believe in freedom, and I believe that we all own ourselves. I believe we're all born by the same virtue, which essentially just means that man has sex with woman, plants seed, and the baby grows in the womb, comes out into the earth by the same virtue. Like, that same process is what created each and every single one of us. So we're all born with the same inalienable rights. Now, we don't have any say or control over what piece of land we pop out on, but, you know, we're crawling out of a vagina regardless of where we're at in the world. And we don't have much say in where that is. No. Now, the laws of different places in the world are all different, but there's a difference between legality and morality. Just because the Uniform Commercial Code or the statutes say one thing, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's like morally right. Yeah. That's what it should be. It just means that the lawmakers decided that's what it should be.
A different place in the world has completely different laws in regards to that.
100%.
It's just a different culture.
That's right. So I think I haven't went through like I don't want to hurt somebody. I don't want to hurt people. I wouldn't do something to someone else that I wouldn't want done to me. But I also understand that, like, if someone else wants to have a drink or wants to smoke, or, you know, someone wants to smoke K2, like, who am I to, like, tell them that that's morally acceptable or not? They own themselves. And excuse me, let me take that a step further. Who is the government to tell them whether they can ingest that or not? All the government is a group of people. We all got together and voted the same person, the same politician. We voted Joe in office, and Joe's going to represent us now. Yeah. He didn't vote for Joe, but we did, and we're the majority. So now Joe is ruling. Even him, Joe has authority over him too, whether he likes it or not, because the majority rule. That's what democracy is. That's not freedom, though. Like, that's not free. Like, if you're not hurting anybody and you're not taking their shit, like, you're not causing anyone any kind of grief or any kind of pain or suffering or anything, you're not hurting anyone else, then why is it wrong to do what you want to do? So, like, philosophically, fundamentally, I don't think it's right that substance and stuff is overly policed and
well, the war on drugs has been one of the biggest wastes of money we've ever seen.
Well, the drugs, guns, and sex, right? It's always going to sell no matter what you do to it.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, the government's war on drugs has been the biggest waste of money and resources, because it's gone almost nowhere.
My thing is, I get shit for this, you know, and I do think, like, everyone, like, you know, no matter who you look at that's earned any type of money, in, you know, whoever you look at it, they all had to do something that wasn't really legal to begin with. That's how it all started. They did something that's illegal, and they were able to clean that money and then siphon it to some.
With a silver spoon.
Well, yeah, but I don't believe in a silver spoon, because I see too many instances of people that were born with a silver spoon and then blow all that shit. Like, you know, I would go as far as to say majority blows all that shit. So that silver spoon is like, unless you make it yourself, it's just not gonna. It's just not gonna help. So, like, if you come in from nothing, like, you got to get the money somehow. Like, you got to generate it somehow. What's the one way that you can generate money and you're not, you're not put in these brackets of rules and regulations where you can freely do it, and it's doing the illegal shit, right? Like, that's what's gonna generate most money.
You could raise money from investors.
You could, and that's where I was going with this, right? So how did the whole company started? Like,
yeah, so interesting actually. I told myself before I started, like, selling it, you know, it was a means to an end. I didn't plan on doing it forever. I told myself I'm just going to stack a few $1 million. I'm going to be able to fund Orlando's largest recording studio. I'm going to be able to start the largest production company, Basement Beats, Basement Records, and we were doing all that, you know. But
The money's too good though. Like,
But then
there's
when
a
you start
term,
making the
money's
money,
too good,
you
yeah.
forget that you had a goal. Like you just forget about the goal entirely, and it's all consuming. It isn't just about the money at that point either. It's also like the adrenaline rush you get when you walk in a building with a duffel bag with a couple $1 million worth of dope in it. Like it's a big rush, man. Like that's at the time I didn't see it as that, but like they say
just money's too
retrospect
good.
hindsight's 2020. Looking back, like I can see that there was other motivating factors that I didn't even realize then.
Yeah.
It was way over my head.
So it's not only that. I think what's happening is like when you generate, let's say you're generating $2-3 million a year doing something illegal. Whatever else you're gonna do, like I mean, what level of money you have to generate to say no to $2-3 million? It can be another $2-3 million. So let's just double that. Let's say you're getting another 5 legally, but you're still generating $2-3 million. There's a big difference between a $7 million and a $5 million, right? So where you have to be at 10, at 20 to say no to this, I'm gonna leave this
And
to the
also
side.
the work being put in for either.
So that money is very hard to say no to because it plugs a lot of holes,
It's
right?
almost
So,
impossible.
yeah.
It could corrupt some of the probably the best people on earth.
Yeah, and then
It's
if you're not
very
going to do it at a
difficult.
big scale, what's the point of doing it at all?
Especially
right?
when you're disconnected from the bad that's happening on the other side of it. Like I've never seen anyone overdose personally. Like I've had an uncle that overdosed and died. I lost him to fentanyl. But I've
it's
never.
fentanyl.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't selling fentanyl. So, and I don't like fentanyl. I don't think it's a good thing. I still don't think I have a right to tell you you're not allowed to possess it or use it or sell it. Like, I don't think I have that right. And I don't think I have the right to vote for somebody and let them tell you that you're not allowed to buy, sell, possess,
Yeah.
consume. Like, I don't own you, dude. You own you. I own me. Do you. Just don't hurt other people. If you hurt other people, then, yeah, I have a right to get involved. That's how I see, how that should work.
So how did the sentence and because you got to meet some people, some masterminds there, right? Like, how did that influence your life?
Dude, I would not. So going back, now that I know what I know, I would decide not to sell drugs, obviously. I wouldn't do that again.
Yeah, but we were all
so-
invested. We would have all
right.
invested in Bitcoin when it was 6
I
pennies.
did
you
invest
know?
in, well, so that actually interesting you mentioned Bitcoin. So I was mining, I had ASIC 333 megahertz miners in 2011, 2012. I had a whole room full of Bitcoin mining hardware. But I was using the Bitcoin to buy dope. I was paying for the dope with Bitcoin. And dude, if you looked at my Coinbase account and saw how many Bitcoins I had sent to China, hundreds of billions of dollars worth. So, hindsight's 2020,
Yeah.
right? If I would have known how valuable the Bitcoin
You
was
just
going to
kept
be,
that and had more money
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I would have been done.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't know, right? Like,
So
I wish
stupid.
everyone had a crystal ball. It would be so much easier, but you don't.
I mean, shit. I remember
Yeah.
when it was. Oh shit! This thing is worth $1 now. It's worth 10. It's worth
Right.
10. It's worth 100. And
no,
it's like, oh, shit.
forget that.
Where's
When
this
the,
going?
the
Now
guy
it's-
that
it just dropped, but it's like 80 something still now.
It was just at 100, dropped. Is it down to 80?
I think it's down to 80 something.
yeah, well, the
I
guy
just-
that bought
I,
pizza, right?
My boss was telling me today a friend of his lost a bunch. I was real pissed about it.
I made a couple grand on Trump coin,
Yeah.
and then I flipped it. I flipped it a little too early, some of it into Melania. I kept like $1,500 in Trump, official Trump, and that's dropped to
Yeah.
that's
those are
dropped to
those are
like
gonna
400,
drop,
I think now. So, but it's okay. I'm just gonna let it ride out. It'll be all right. There's like with Doge and all the shit that Trump's doing right now. And here's the thing. It's funny me saying this because I am an anarchist. I believe in order to get in the White House, they have to have some dirt on you. Like you're not going to hold the highest office unless they can control you. Period. Because the presidents and the prime ministers of the world are not the ones that are actually in power.
Well, look at the Epstein list. They were supposed to release it 4
That's
days
not
ago.
going
Why
to happen.
didn't they release
Epstein
it?
was best friend. They have a recording of Epstein saying he was best friends with Donald Trump for 10 years. He said, I was his best friend for over 10 years. They have that recording.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would Donald Trump release
Release
the
it,
Epstein?
yeah.
That's not going to happen.
There's
Dude,
a
I
whole-
bet my left nut that does not happen.
yeah. Well, there's a whole book. I mean, if you read Nation Under. Anyway, this chick, she's a journalist, and she wrote 2 books, right? Nation Under. Forget it. I'll let you know afterwards. But she talks about the whole Epstein story and his connections to how far it went. Like, and we're talking about multinational connections, not just United States, right? So they were supposed to release it 4 days ago. That's what they're saying. But
You know what
to
I
this
think
day, we
about
don't know.
Epstein? And this is probably similar to what you think, but I think Epstein was a double agent.
He was. He was a Mossad agent.
The
Yeah.
CIA.
Yeah.
I
In
think he
the
was
book,
doing
it says it
everything he
clearly.
did. It wasn't because he was some pervert that liked having sex with 13-year-old girls. I mean, he might have enjoyed having sex with 13-year-old girls, but I
it
don't
was
think
just
that was his motivation.
No, he was earning money. It was probably blackmail.
Well, not for him though. I think he was doing it as an officer, as an agent for Mossad. So, or the CIA or whatever. That's all one and the same anyway. Mossad, CIA, same
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
Israel,
they're all-
United States, same shit.
Yeah, they all work
You know what I
very
mean?
Before
closely
we get
together.
off that topic too far off of it, they did release the first phase of the declassified Epstein files.
Yeah, they did.
I was just able to.
Wait,
open it
when did that happen though?
today, and they're supposed to
Holy
release the
shit.
second portion by 8 a.m. tomorrow.
Sounds like you gotta send your left nut somewhere.
Wait a minute. Why is this the first phase? Why?
Let's start
you
an
don't
auction,
have enough.
man. Let's
Yeah.
let people bid on my left
I can
nut.
read a
Yeah,
little
but
bit
no.
into
Wait a
it
minute.
if you
It's a
want.
first phase, right? Why is this the first phase? Why don't you release the whole thing? There's clearly
Because
they're
they want
going
to
through
control the release.
Yeah, and they want to
Figure
go
out what
through
they got
the-
to strike through with a black marker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can't people see? I guarantee you, like what we're seeing is definitely not the
the list,
incriminating
no.
shit.
We might see 90% of it, but the 10% that's important
Hey,
we
can-
won't.
This
can
is
you-
directly from the justice.gov website. Attorney General Bondi requested the full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein. In response, the department received approximately 200 pages of documents. However, the Attorney General was later informed of thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation and indictment of Epstein that were not previously disclosed. The Attorney General has requested the FBI deliver the remaining documents to the department by 8 in the morning on February 28th, and has tasked FBI Director Cash Patel with investigating.
So
why the
we can
request
do all kinds
for
of
all
fuck shit
documents
right now.
were-
FBI is busy with the black marker right now. we can
You
do
know what
whatever
it was?
we want right now.
They classified those other thousands of documents under something else, and so when
these-
they had to release the couple hundred, it was like, okay, this is what you asked for. What about the other thousand? No,
Yeah, look
that's
at the
called
black
something
marker.
else.
Look at the
Look
black
it.
marker,
It's all
bro.
black.
Oh,
It's
these are
all
the
black.
victims.
Yeah,
these
bro.
are the victims. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. How many victims did they have?
Yo,
Nah, bro.
These are the evidence lists. There's a couple of PDFs, and this is how deep it goes.
Yeah, but it's all black marker. What's the point of
The
this
whole thing
document?
is
It's
blacked out.
probably protecting like private, like sensitive information, like addresses.
because it has their name.
Dude,
This is
it's not
contact-
just that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Come on,
more
man.
to it. Come
More
on,
to
Just
man.
addresses.
It says redactions for personal contact information.
Yeah, bullshit. I don't believe that.
Including
for a
their
minute.
names, right?
Yeah.
Are the names
No, it has
on
their
it?
names.
It has
like,
their names?
Yeah, Neil Andrew.
Okay, take this file, upload it to ChatGPT. Do you have O1 Pro or just 4?
I think we have 4.
There's a
oh,
couple
whatever
of
it
them.
is.
Okay.
There's
So upload it to
multiple-
GPT.
There's multiple flight logs.
Let's save them all, and then upload them all to one thread in ChatGPT, and then ask ChatGPT to make a list of all the names that were incriminated from these documents, and see if there's anything there, and then ask it like, what might the public want to know from these documents, and let it do the work for you.
I wonder
And-
how long this is going to take to download.
It shouldn't take long. It's PDF. I mean,
Yeah, he's
you
not
don't.
wrong. It's only 11 megs.
Nah, bro. I
Even
don't believe
without
that.
fiber.
Just like with the Kennedy assassination, we kind of know what happened. You know what I mean? They still won't release it because they were about to release it and then put another 50 years lock on it because they said it's national security.
Yeah.
We have to lock it for
we
another
talked about
50
this the
years.
other day.
Yeah,
National security. Something that happened how long ago now?
50 years ago.
Yeah.
And they had
It's
it
national
came up,
security
so
still.
it's time to release it. But they're like, nope, we're gonna put it on all because it's most likely gonna incriminate CIA. And the problem is, well, people might lose trust, and people already don't trust CIA. What do you think? There's gonna be like a picket signs everywhere? Everyone's gonna walk and try to knock down banks and government
Damn,
buildings?
look at
No.
this.
No, come on, man, get out of here,
Look
bro.
at this.
They
Get outta
released
here.
it.
They released.
Hey
they
guys,
released
this is your
a
government
list of
hard at
numbers.
work.
This is the masseuse list, by the way.
Oh, the masseuse list.
There isn't a
There
list.
isn't any.
We got the numbers.
We got
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah,
Oh
he
my
had 300
God,
masseuses
dude.
on payroll. Okay, great.
That's
awesome.
all that
Trump.
let us know.
Stop sucking dick and do what you said you were gonna do.
So.
But see, here's the thing. Like, I also have this thing. It's like the best way I can describe it is like, like you kind of going up this hill, and then you got to get to the top of the hill, right? When you get to the top of the hill, and then you fight the dragon on top of the hill, you win. Now it's your hill.
So
But
a
then
couple
you
of them
fucking
didn't
look
work,
around. Hill has
looks
another
like.
8 sides. There's other people coming out. So I think it's a very like
I don't even.
balanced. You know what I'm talking about? It's just
What
not
I
that
honestly
easy.
believe is that the oligarchs, the puppet masters, the puppeteers, the people that there's people pulling the strings. Trump was an actor. Reagan was an actor. Like all these, like they're being groomed. Obama was groomed for the White House. Like these people are being groomed. There was like a 13-year-old girl that did a genealogical family tree. You saw that? Connected all our past presidents, proved that they were all distant cousins. All of them are related, so they come from the similar bloodline.
What would more specifically would you like me to ask ChatGPT about these?
Just like what incriminating information was revealed. Is there anything really valuable here? Is it all bullshit? Smoke and mirrors. I mean, they say they release shit, but it's all blacked out.
A list of just 300 numbers.
The name of the
That's
books are
numbers.
One Nation Under Blackmail 1, Volume 1, and One Nation Under Blackmail Volume 2. It's written by this chick, Whitney Alice Webb.
I haven't read it.
Both of the books are amazing. Like, you want to go down the rabbit hole? I listen to books at 2 speed.
Yeah.
And this one I had to down to 1 speed just to fucking see where the connections go.
Yeah, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Did you read that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a good book. It talked about how the U.S. government gets economists that on the CIA's payroll indirectly through like Bechtel and private contractors, and they send them to like third world countries and other places where we have some kind of like geopolitical play. Mm-hmm. And they do these economic forecasts over 25 years showing like what this investment could do to their economy and their GDP. And they convince the country to sign on the dotted line and ignore all the fine print. And the fine print says things like if you default on the debt, then you have to let us put a military base on this piece of land for however many years.
Well, they involved the World Bank on that. Like that happened to Greece not long ago when they were in a shithole. We came in with the World Bank. It's like, here's the basket of currency, but if you want this basket of currency, we need to do this. Right. And they let us do it. And actually, that was the thing with partially the reason Putin is what Putin is. Well, he's first of all is Putin, right? Like the number 2 reason was because we had this guy. He was the richest man under 40 in 2000s. His name was Khodorkovsky, and we were grooming him to become the next president. He ended up locking him in prison by saying that you stole from Russia 2 train loads of oil that would go around the earth. 2 train loads, like that's how much oil you stole, and he put him in prison for that. And he basically caught him. So yes, we've been doing that for many, many years. But somebody has to police the world. How else do you do it?
He sold the company for like pennies on the dollar, right?
Yeah, so they sold the company. It was a multi-billion-dollar company. They sold it for $300,000 in some village newspaper article in Russia. Yeah, and then
all
dismantled
they
everything.
List it somewhere.
They listed it somewhere, dismantled it. Our own strategy, our own United States strategy.
Yeah, we do that too.
Russia just literally took our playbook. You know what I mean?
China's running the playbook too.
China's running, but the problem with them, I think they just have too many economic issues, too many ghost cities. They can't keep up with their shit.
Yeah, a lot of what they've done has been artificial.
Yeah.
Mickey, have we gotten anything useful out of this?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm doing a whole investigation.
Mickey's down the rabbit hole. Let's go.
Dude, you've used deep research? Is that what you asked him?
I just told it to do a deeper dive on certain individuals.
Like, do you have deep research though?
I don't know what that is. I use ChatGPT, but I don't know.
Let me see. You're on 4. So.
This probably isn't. No, this is on my account, so it doesn't have anything yet.
Yeah. So I have ChatGPT Pro, which is $200 a month. And it's worth every fucking penny.
Really?
Don't even think twice about it.
But they were saying that
So I use it for work a lot, so I don't know.
Do it.
Yeah.
Dude, it's the smartest. Dude, I'm writing applications with AI. And I'm adding logs, and I add logs, extensive logs, so when I run the code, I can see it executing, and I can see if there's any errors or anything. Like I can see the response, and then I can take that response and feed it the response and say, what's going on here? Yeah. Fix it, and it'll respond with the whole code fixed.
Well, they were saying that
That's
Grok,
crazy.
Grok for research is a little bit better. They're saying
Grok 3 is, I think it's scoring better on like 5 different models.
Mm-hmm. That's what they're saying. Yeah.
I think it's funny. Elon just offered $95 million to buy OpenAI. He was pissed
that
because
was a slap in the face
he
too.
gave Sam all the $50 million.
He did.
Early, and he wasn't doing it from like an investment standpoint where I hope to make money back from this. He was doing it because of what Sam believed in or sold him on, which is it's supposed to be open source.
Which is not. It's
not.
very,
It's the
very liberal. Very
it's
liberal.
as closed source as it could possibly be, for profit. Let's make as much money as we can off of this. But I understand like Sam's pivot though. I really do. In order to build like really impressive models that will really change the world, like
You need Microsoft
we're just
money.
scratching the surface right now. We need more data centers. It costs a lot of money. The compute that goes into processing a lot of this stuff on the back end costs a lot. So you can't do that. You can't achieve those heights if you're not monetizing.
No.
So I understand both sides of it. You have to charge. You have to be for profit. I think having an open source model like is a good thing. But I understand Elon's. It's kind of going back to Sam SBF. You know, it's just kind of the same thing. Maybe it's the word Sam. Don't ever name your son Sam. So, you know, I don't know, but you know, SBF took investors' money and started an exchange, but didn't put his investors on the cap table. So fucked them all. He took their money, built a business with it, and fucked everybody. And Sam Altman took $50 million from Elon Musk. Man, if Elon Musk would trust me with $50 million, wow. You know, it's just. And then he fucked them. Now, does Elon miss the $50 million? Probably not, but it's like the principle, you know.
Right.
No. Elon's thing was, because I read his biography. His thing was like, listen, what you're creating here is not good for the humanity. So that's why he went in and created Grok by saying, okay, we need, because we went to that conference and he got in front of the, I think it was in G whatever conference, Geneva, yeah. And he was like, listen, AI is bad. We need to police this shit. Otherwise, it's gonna, like, it's, because the 4.0, it created its own language, not to shut itself down, and it was just a version, and he lied.
He even lied.
Did you guys see yesterday? People were saying that a bunch of like an AI created like a shit ton of accounts and started posting a bunch of violent media all over. You guys didn't get that on your Instagrams and stuff? No. So
it's probably
I asked a couple of my friends and they
test
said
drive.
the same thing. Yeah, yesterday Instagram was full of fights. A bunch of people getting shot, ran over. It was like extremely violent stuff, and all these accounts that were posting this popped up all simultaneously at the
Because
same
they're
time.
saying AI did it all on its own. It wasn't prompted to do it.
Well, of course it was
Someone
prompted.
It was
But
somebody's test run.
somebody used an AI to do this apparently.
Right.
It was someone's test run, probably to
Or at least
get.
that's what the theory I heard.
Watch,
Nobody
a couple
really
of more
knows.
months, somebody's
Yeah.
gonna offer those services to boost your Instagram, get your followers, this and that, and they're gonna sell that. That was
I also
somebody's
saw
test
like
run.
they had two AIs
If it
talk to
worked.
each other.
If it worked, yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's crazy.
Well,
within,
they did what Andrew Tate did. Andrew Tate literally did that. He just
set
had a
up-
bunch of people doing that for him.
Yeah, I mean, he had the money to do it. So, you know, what they do is they set up a bunch of child and like you set up the master and slave accounts, or like the mother and child accounts. So you have like your main accounts, and then you syndicate all your content through hundreds of sub accounts.
yeah.
So, and you can automate all that. You can do that a few different ways, but by doing that, what they've actually found is like if you create 1,000 pieces of content and you take the content that does the best, like, and by does the best, it doesn't have to be like millions of views, but just like thousands of views. But thousands of views from an account that's disincentivized or pushed down from the algorithm can do really well from a fresh account that doesn't have the algorithm weighing in. It's the algorithm's still learning on that account. It's still deciding like what does this content need to be pushed harder or not. So the benefit in sending your syndicating your content through hundreds of accounts or thousands of accounts is some of those accounts are going to hit, especially if you start with different content on different accounts. You're posting different content all the time everywhere, but that's an expensive strategy. It takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of manpower to do that.
Yeah.
It works.
And
There's
if they got-
companies. There's actually a company, I forget the name, but they specialize in that. It's like $50K a month. So if you can pay them $50K a month, they'll make you famous.
Yeah.
You're gonna show up next to Grant Cardone and everybody.
Right. Mickey, let's wrap it up here. We'll see. Did you get any good information
Well,
from
wait,
this
before we
GPT
go,
search?
before we go
just
that,
don't
I
wanna
want to
keep
talk
it too
about
long.
the
I know
company
it's
that
okay.
he has
he's got an
Contractor
early
Plus.
morning, so.
But it's all right.
So in regards
What
to
is-
the deep dive, if you want to learn about that,
Yeah, you got any interesting names?
not really. So that's what makes it sus.
Well, I think
several flights manifest list passengers without full names, often with initials or vague descriptors like female or just first names. Young girls appear on many flights, sometimes traveling alone or with Ghislaine Maxwell. Young girls there are one-way flights to Epstein's private islands, Little St. James, with the young passengers, but no listed return flights. There's also suspicious flight patterns and high-profile individuals.
They're gonna start digging on the island.
what the fuck?
Prince Andrew was on the flights. We already know about that. He's had allegations against him. Bill Clinton was also in there getting freaky. There's also connections to known trafficking associates like Jean-Luc Brunel, a French modeling agent accused of trafficking, which also frequently traveled with Epstein.
But this is the shit that we know. But see, here's the thing. The difference here is, like, you know, when you have those parties, let's say you're having Diddy parties, right? There's people that are on the lawn, and there's people that are in the Diddy's bedrooms. There's two different groups of people.
Well,
you know what I mean?
There's a
like, somebody
reason for
might
that.
have gone to the island, and was on a
There's
porch
a
versus
reason for
being
that.
inside
You
the
gotta
rooms.
have people that were
100%.
there that think it think it's not
Exactly.
happening.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You gotta have a front for the whole thing. You can't just have 100 people at your house and everyone's fucking kids.
So I think what ChatGPT gave us, they gave us the most mellow, politically correct answer that we already know, to just get the fuck off of this and not ask more questions. You know what I mean? That's pretty much what it did. So, but I want to get into Contractors Plus.
Crazy.
How did Contractors Plus started? How did that come around?
Yeah, man. So inside of my own construction business, in Orlando, 2010, 2011, I built a little app I called it, I didn't sell it, I just kept it internally. It was all web-based, Handyman Estimator. It was basically, there was a process where my foreman would go out and do estimates, bring it back to the office, and then my bookkeeper or myself would have to type it up in QuickBooks and send it off to the client. And the whole process was just consuming 25, 30 hours a week. And I said, there's no reason for this. Why don't we just capture it in the format that we need it in when he does the estimate versus having to do all that work two times?
So you type
Right.
everything on the web.
So I made a
Direct
form that
connection.
plugged it right into QuickBooks and just eliminated that double data. And at the time, I told my now CTO, I was like, this would be a good app. A lot of people could benefit from this. But we never focused on it. Then I went to prison, so things happen. But in prison, towards the end of my sentence, I'd been in for over 5 years, pushing 6 years at this point, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to be getting out. Trump's in at the time, and he's Jared Kushner, his
pro-business,
son-in-law, pushed him and on the First Step Act, and the First Step Act made a lot of the Second Chance Act during Obama's administration retroactive. So we started getting like good time credits, and we started from programming. Shit, I'd taken over 50 classes in prison. Now, some of those classes I paid for with stamps. Like, I had someone sign in for me. I didn't actually go.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a folder that thick from certificates of completion. So I checked all the boxes, and wasn't even expecting it, but got a call to R&D and got out way ahead of schedule. And that was thanks to mostly because of that bill. And whether Trump did that or Jared pushed for that because Jared's father was locked up in the feds, whatever. Either way, it happened. So toward about a year before that, I started sketching things. I had a desk job. I was a clerk at an auto garage. I started, we serviced all the vehicles on the compound. I started sketching out all the screens, the settings. I started mapping out everything. I started working on the database schema. I started really putting everything together on how I needed this to function. And I started scanning pictures in on a contraband cell phone. And I would send them off. I had a UX designer that I hired on Fiverr at the time.
You were doing all of this from prison?
From prison.
Wow.
Yeah, set up the corporation from prison and everything.
Wow.
I did it all while I was locked up. From a contraband cell phone. From a Samsung J3.
Pictures coming all pixelated and
Yeah, right. So they formalized all the UX. The initial UX wasn't great, but that's the way software works, man. Like you just have to start building, and ideas never come out fully formed. Like you just start working on it, and when you start working on it, be adaptive and iterate and be willing to change, pivot quickly. And then when you start getting some customers, listen to your customers, ask them for feedback, connect with them, talk to them, figure out what they care about, what they need, what they don't like, what they, and like really listen to your customers. Your customers should be your North Star. That's your compass. And if you're always like marching in the direction of what your customers care about, you can't lose. So, by the time I got to the halfway house, we already had a business, we already had customers, we already had probably our first 100 or so users.
Yeah.
And
that was by the time you got out, huh?
Yeah. So, and it's no looking back. Now I had to like satisfy. I technically had 3 years of probation. I got released after 13 months. I wrote a motion to the judge. Judge Algernon.
Use ChatGPT on that?
On the motion?
Yeah.
ChatGPT wasn't out then. It was before then. So no, I wrote it myself. I wrote the motion, found a template though, and like for the heading, just so it looked like a legal
professional
motion.
Yeah.
And signed it and sent it to my probation officer. At the time, I'd probably done 30 some piss tests. I didn't smoke at all. Like most people, they can't stop drinking and stop smoking for long enough to get through probation. Just don't be a fucking dumbass. It's gonna take 3 years of your life, and then you don't ever have to think about this again. You know what I mean? You can do whatever you want after that.
Versus every time you mess up, you're resetting it. And probably for even
you're going back to prison. You're coming back out. Like it's a revolving door. Why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah.
So why would you do that to your family? It isn't even about you. It's a lot of these guys have kids.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you doing it to them? So it doesn't make any sense to me. But so I told myself, look, I'm not gonna smoke. I'm not gonna drink. I'm not gonna do anything that could cause me more complications. Yeah. So I didn't do anything, and I passed all the drug tests and all the screening, and probation officer said I don't have any issues with cutting him loose early. So he signed off on it. Then the prosecuting attorney said he programmed a lot in prison. He's been an exemplary inmate, and he's doing really good on release. We can't see any need for the taxpayers to carry the burden of keeping him under. So Judge Algernon Marbley 3 days later signed it. Terminated my paper. But for that first, I still worked in the warehouse for like 2 years. Right when I got out, I got a job in a warehouse. I applied to a lot of places. I still ended up going to college. So I moved to Florida. We skipped a lot of like what happened. I moved to Florida to go to college.
Yeah.
And still got my college degree, and with pretty much, I would say it's a fake high school diploma. I don't know. It's real. There's somehow an accredited high school here in Florida. It's called the Continental Academy in Miami. If you look it up, the Continental Academy.
I remember when I was growing up.
Did you do it online or you were there in Miami?
They mail you.
There's a lot of Cubans in this area, and I remember hearing from someone that like they basically, I'm not sure it was the same thing, but got their diploma through like a fake high school basically out of Miami. That was like selling the diploma.
Yeah, so before I got to this, I did like an online high school. I don't know. They mail you a computer and everything. You actually have to do it on their stuff. Yeah. Like it's all locked down. But that was worse than real school. Like just go to high school if you're planning on doing that. That shit's horrible. So I couldn't learn nothing from that. So, but this right here, they basically let you test out of high school. You just have to take one test. It's like 500 questions.
Okay.
And and then they give you your GPA based on like the grade you get on that test.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
I wonder how they're even allowed to do that.
Isn't that crazy?
I wonder how it would go.
Isn't that crazy?
A GPA based on one test?
12 years of school, they dilute and down to 500 questions. 12 fucking years
Doesn't that
of
just
school.
tell you how much bullshit
They
it is?
distilled that shit to 500 questions, bro.
Literally full circle right here. Like how shitty the school system
I probably
is.
shouldn't admit this, but I remember I gave that test to my little sister. I had her take it for me. I didn't even do it.
I'm sure it doesn't discredit your masters. Don't worry.
I don't think you fucking need it.
Can't take the master's from you once you got it.
Yeah, right?
No, exactly.
It's
you don't
mine
need
already.
it, though. Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, I think we'll wrap it up, you guys. And I know you've been here long enough, and you got to get up early in the morning.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you guys having me. I think
you coming,
if there's one thing I could draw, like, that I could leave the listeners of this is, like, selling drugs is stupid. It's a zero-sum game. You're not going to get anything out of it except maybe like a temporary rush and a lot of money. And money it should not be the reason you do what you do, because like there's always something else to spend money on. Like, money is a byproduct of success. It's not success is not a destination. It's a lifestyle. It's like fitness. It's not a destination. You don't just get in shape and then stop working out. It's a lifestyle. You realize it's part of a healthy lifestyle that you live because of because you care about being healthy. And it's not some. The only destination we have here on earth is it's our deathbed. Yeah. So like, let's just make the best of it while we're here. Be good people and do right by others. And part of that is like not selling drugs. So like, going back, if I could change that, I would. It was dumb. I don't regret going to prison because I met a lot of good people in there. A lot of good people that took the wrong turn in life. And everybody makes mistakes. Some people get caught and some people don't. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot. I was able to read over 500 books. I was able to spend a lot of time. Like, I wasn't chasing pussy. I wasn't trying to get laid. Like, I wasn't focused. Like, I wasn't trying to get high. I wasn't like, I was able to like work
right
out.
40 hours of your week right there if you're not trying to do all that.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So I mean, it sucked. I remember I'd be out running on the track, and like, I hate running, dude. I don't know like, how can you like? I have friends that like running. Like, no, how can you enjoy running?
You know what it looks
so
like
fucking
to me?
Boring, dude.
It looks like to me when the people are going in the circles running, it looks like they're looking for yesterday's day and they can't find it, so they just keep going in a circle.
The only time I've ever found myself enjoying running was when I did it for long enough where I got to the point where I could run for like more than a mile and not feel tired, like, kind of get that rhythm. But even then, when you like, that's only like a temporary like enjoyment, because I feel like once you get to that and you overcome that, there's nothing else after it. It's just running. Like, it's so boring.
After that's 3.
It's boring.
3 sucks, and then like once you hit 3.5, you're like, I just want to quit. Like,
it's boring. It's boring. Once you overcome that hill, like, okay, I can run now and not like get tired.
I can think of a million things that are more fun in a gym to do than running. Like pushing a sled. Like, trying to sprint with a sled is like really fun. Like that's cool. And you know what's really fun is when you have a good group of guys to work out with. Like, you're gonna push each other and hold each other accountable.
Jiu-jitsu, man. Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I did jiu-jitsu when I was a kid.
Yeah,
get into it again, man. I'm telling you, get into it again.
You said like a million other things to think of in the gym. Instantly, I'm thinking of jiu-jitsu. Like, oh my god, I have so much fun running on the treadmill. Like, bro, I get to choke my friends. Like, But yeah, jiu-jitsu for sure.
There's a big influencer out of Atlanta. His name's Abraham Gray. He's big into jiu-jitsu as well. He's a big,
No, I'm not familiar with him.
So I met him in Vegas. He spoke at Ryan Pineda's conference, and then I sat down with him for like 30 minutes. He's a cool dude. They're buying businesses. He's buying gyms, MMA gyms, businesses that aren't really being ran right. Mm-hmm. They come in, buy it, and fix it up, and it's just an alternative to closing the business. They fix it up and get it profitable and operate it, and they do really well with that. So,
jiu-jitsu and martial arts is growing like crazy right now.
Yeah, for sure. For good reason.
Yeah,
for good reason. Martial arts teaches discipline, and it teaches self-control, and like gives you more clarity and control over your own thoughts. And
every kid growing up should go and do some sort of martial art. I feel.
I think it's healthy for sure. Probably not just kids, adults. I think the thing I miss the most about prison is having a bunch of other people. Like, take someone like me that's socially awkward, doesn't really like introducing myself to new people. Like, before I went to prison, I couldn't do social mixers and stuff like that. Hell no, I'm not doing that. Now, like, I look forward to stuff like that. I like meeting new people. So it completely, I guess you could say, prison cured me. And in some way, it cured some of my biggest afflictions.
What do you think about prison change that in you? Like,
when
you're forced you, so forced?
Yeah, exactly. So when you are given no other option,
yeah, you gotta
adapt. Take a shit on a toilet in an open room with 150 dudes. If you have to take a shit, that's the only toilet. Guess what? You're gonna use it, and like, it's humiliating, sure, and I guess some human rights activists might even argue that it's wrong, right? But you get through it. You do it. You do the impossible. You do things you never thought that you could do before, and you find peace with yourself and you make time for yourself. You know, you work on yourself. Like, you work out, you stretch, you read, you communicate, you do all the things that you didn't make time for before. So prison can really be a game changer if you go into it with the right mentality. There's probably a lot of people that's facing, you know, they're sitting in a cell right now waiting on sentencing, and they're dreading what's about to come. But the reality is, you know, I didn't have a kid before I went to prison, so that, thank God, that would have been devastating for me and for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't have been doing what I was doing then if I had a kid either. So,
yeah.
But so I understand, like, those guys that have kids, like, it's even harder. But I would say, like, if you're facing prison and you know what you did was stupid, and you know you might even regret it, you probably should. Just like, face it head on, man, and get what you can get out of it. Better yourself, because there's a lot of good that can come from the worst situations in life. Growth doesn't happen inside the comfort zone. It only happens when you're dealing with your demons. It only happens when you're dealing with things that are uncomfortable to you.
100%.
So
I absolutely agree with that last part.
It's a great way to end it.
Yeah, thank you. Really, really thank you. You've been a great guest. We really
thanks for
appreciate
having
it, man. Thank you. Yeah, I know you don't live in Florida, but we would
Not
definitely
anymore.
love to have you on
Look,
if you ever come back.
Look,
so.
if DeSantis passes that getting rid of the property taxes, I'm paying 2% right now on a $500,000 house. That's what, 10 grand?
10 grand.
$10,000 a year. And some people are paying that in their fucking rent. You know what I mean? I'm paying 10 grand a year on my property taxes. Taxation is theft. Stop stealing money.
I agree with that, 100%.
They get rid of the
biggest
property tax, I'm
proponent,
coming
no
back.
tax.
Well,
Bro,
Yeah.
I'll donate where I want my money to go.
Exactly.
Leave it up to me.
Yeah,
You know what
that's
I
the way
mean?
I feel too.
Yeah.
If you don't take people's money, they have more money to do good things with. You know, all the government's doing is they're taking your money, they're redistributing it, they're putting it into the things that into the causes they believe are
And
necessary.
then it gets chopped up in between there. 'Cause
Dude,
somebody
it
got to
gets
get
sent
paid.
to fucking for fucking gender affirmation.
Well, no, forget that. We were sending money to Ethiopia in the tune of like $2 billion for circumcisions.
And condoms.
Yeah.
Sending condoms.
Yeah.
and we have 30 something.
Oh, and by the way,
in debt.
Yeah. And we had a 800,000.
Sell them gold cards, Trump. Sell them.
Yeah, we had a
$5 million
800,000.
gold cards.
Yeah, $800,000 dollar fund for pillow softness research.
I think it was like $20,000 for like a set of 20 coffee mugs for the Air Force.
Oh, his newest thing was $5 million gold card.
Yeah, that's what he just mentioned. The gold
Yeah.
ticket.
Well, he said they would have an extra 20. He said it's possible. It's really possible. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, me thinking, like, how realistic is it? There's millions of millionaires, sure, and it would have a big impact. It would
No,
definitely.
they would. It's somebody that wants a dual citizenship with United States citizenship because they can travel now to other countries that they're doing business at.
Go
5
buy
million?
them.
Here you go. Take it.
But are there 5 million of those?
What do you mean?
Are there? You know, how many of those does he need to send? Or does he need to sell? 1 million or 5 million?
I think he said 5.
He wants to sell 5 million
million.
$5 million gold cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's 25.
Yeah.
So that's no 25.
5 million, 25 trillion.
No, he said 250.
200. That's what he said.
I don't know
thought
how
it was
many
5.
gold cards does Trump want to sell? Then we can wrap it up. We gotta close on this.
I mean, that could definitely work. That could definitely work. And I know of people for sure that would buy that. Now, do I know a million people that would buy that? No.
Doesn't put a limit to it. He just has.
No,
the-
he did
He had-
say
he had
they
a
said
goal.
they
He
did.
had a
They do
goal.
have a goal, and he made a statement. He said we'd have like we have 36 or whatever trillion dollars in debt. If this program worked, we'd have an extra 20 trillion to spare. We could end the income tax. So basically, like, I
So
want to get
5
rid of
million,
income
500
taxes, which
no,
would be
500
great.
So that will add 500,000. Will add what? 5 zeros to 5 million. Yeah, 5 zeros. So that would put it at $1 billion. No, so we would need 5 million. Yeah, we would
Yeah,
need
he said. I
5
think he
million.
said 5 million. That's what I heard him talk
5
about it at
million,
work.
5 million
Yeah, because
cards.
that would add
Yeah, that's
6
what I had
zeros
heard.
to 5 million. Yeah, 6 zeros. That'll put it at $1 trillion. 5
Okay.
times 5, $20 trillion. Yeah, so we would need
25.
5 million.
25 trillion, 5 times 5. But yeah, but that's not enough. We got 36 trillion in debt. And he said
Yeah,
50
but then
trillion.
inflation will take care of the rest, right?
Yeah. I can't wait to get back to
Bro,
Florida.
you asked
Yeah.
it how many
Especially
it
if
wants
they
to
end up
sell, and it
farming
gave you a
dollars.
whole goddamn essay. I don't get this shit, man. Just give us a number.
No, ChatGPT is on us. They know we're asking the smart questions. So it's giving us.
Well, are you? I
The
can't
exact
see that
number
far.
of gold cards to be issued remains unspecified. The administration
Nah,
envisions a
bullshit.
significant number, potentially up to 1 million, to attract wealthy investors to the United States.
5 million. What model of GPT are you using? Is it searching? Yeah, it's searching. Okay, fuck it. I guess
I heard something about 5
I was
million as well.
hallucinating.
But,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, we'll wrap this up. Thank you, Justin, for coming on. Really
Yeah, thanks for
appreciate
having
it,
me.
man.
Appreciate
It's been a
With-
great episode.
With 10 million investor, he calculated the U.S. could pay off its
There we go.
national debt.
10 million.
10 million.
15
That's
trillion
50.
surplus.
That'd be
That's
50
50 trillion.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Can we get 10 million people to buy a gold card though?
10 million?
10 million, no, but I know there would be millionaires that would. Because, you know, if you were at net worth of 50 to 100 million to get a United States passport, that will
Right.
not,
Yes.
like, it would not stop you from traveling to other countries, especially, let's say, Chinese millionaires. You kidding me? That would be for
Love
them a
that.
no-brainer. Because they're already investing in the United States, buying a bunch of rundown hotels because they don't know where else to park the money. Might as well park it in a green card. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, alrighty, guys. We appreciate everyone who joined us in the chat. Thank you for coming again. We really appreciate it. And, yeah, we'll see you guys on our next episode. Thank you.
Tuesday.